Well, I want to begin my presentation by telling you about the moment that I was convinced that I wasn't cut out for farm life. It was my sophomore year of college. I was home helping my late father and our vet vaccinate bulls. And my job was simple. I was in the barn, and I was to prevent the bull from jumping over the gate. Well, I lost. The bull jumped over the gate, and a 2x4 fell from the gate above and hit me in the head. So I'm dazed a little bit, and I'm bleeding. My dad comes over, assesses the situation, and suggests that Doc Runyon take a look at me. And I said, "Dad, I want a people doctor." And he drove pretty fast on those gravel roads to get me to Corden in the Wayne County ER. And 7 stitches later, my days as a cattleman were over. Like farming, work ethic is the foundation of any good appellate court judge. Humility and authenticity are the cornerstones of this position. And replacing Chief Judge Tom Bauer is going to be difficult. Before I was elected or appointed district court judge in 2016, I was a full-time prosecutor and a public defender in the state court of Iowa. I was an elected county attorney. And I have extensive juvenile and criminal law experience from that time. And there's been 17 people who come sit here before me, but none of them have as similar of resume that mirrors Judge Bauer like I do. My years of legal experience include the following: 7 years as a prosecutor, 2 years as a public defender. I've in my 8th year as a district court judge, and I can tell you I'm better in my 8th year than I was in my 1st, in my 3rd, or in my 7th. And 2 important points about that. With experience, the right kind of experience matters. So 16 years, my entire career has been in the Iowa courts, either as the prosecutor, the defense attorney, or the judge. No other applicant can say that. And it's a perspective that I think would benefit the Iowa Court of Appeals. I also believe longevity matters. And if nominated by this commission and selected by the governor, God willing, I would be able to serve on the Court of Appeals for many years. As a seasoned district court judge, I handle numerous civil trials, jury and non-jury, for medical malpractice, breach of contract, tort, family law, and probate court as well. Whatever the 10 counties that I cover throws at me that week is whatever I go to cover. I also have continued to hone my criminal law skills. I've been specially assigned to 7 first-degree murder cases as a district court judge. I've presided over numerous jury trials, kidnapping, robbery, sexual abuse, vehicular homicide. I am also the only candidate from rural southern Iowa. A perspective I think that would enrich the court. And I currently serve on the Iowa Judicial Branch Technology Committee. I've served on several other judicial branch committees, including an evidentiary committee, the updating of the substantive rules of evidence, and a remote task force hearing. And I've served in conferences, District 8 and statewide on panels for judges. Unlike farming, the bench is a calling for me. I take my oath very seriously. And I had to convince myself, I had to be firmly convinced that I was the right person and had the right qualifications to replace Chief Judge Bauer. I've got a lot of respect and good feelings for the Court of Appeals based on my relationship with Senior Judge Mullins. I've known Judge Bauer. I think I can call all the Court of Appeals judges by first name and they wouldn't get mad at me, and the senior judges as well. An Iowa Court of Appeals judge is bound by the law, judicial restraint, but they serve the Constitution, the rule of law, and the people of Iowa. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, if nominated, I would not disappoint you. And if selected by the governor, I would serve to the best of my abilities. And thank you. I thank you for your service on this commission. I look forward to any questions.
And we'll start questions with Commissioner Piglet.
Hey, Judge. Good to see you again.
Afternoon.
What I really want to talk about is your experience as a meat counter clerk for the competition, the fairway. I don't think I can do that at this table, so let me ask you about something else. But that's what's really on my mind.
yeah.
I'm just joking.
Had some fairway steaks last week. Just
All right. All right. God bless you. No further questions.
okay.
We've talked a lot today about empathy and collegiality, specifically with the Court of Appeals. And you've included in your application an essay that you've written about being a good colleague. Could you just highlight your perspective on this issue, and specifically this issue as it would relate to this position?
Well, I think it relates to all judges, the district court, kind of being a team. It's even more so on the Court of Appeals, where you're serving in panels. And so empathy is basically putting yourself in the other person's shoes. And I think I said a good colleague considers their fellow colleagues' feelings. A great colleague prioritizes them. So just having that empathy for your fellow judge, there's not a lot of people that have the honor to be judges, whether district court or Court of Appeals. So there's some empathy that you'll just have innately for your fellow judges, and being a part of the justice system and providing the rule of law to people is so important that I think human beings, there's a lot of talk of artificial intelligence, and I'm kind of tired of it. Human beings are the people that make decisions, and that human connection cannot be overstated. So I get along well with my fellow judges. Doesn't mean I agree with them all the time, but yes, empathy is a completely undervalued quality in the judiciary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stanger.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Great to have you.
Great to see you.
Thanks for applying. I want to unpack this comment you made about being a seasoned district court trial judge. We have 10 judicial applicants in front of us today from all over the state and a variety levels of experience. What is it about being seasoned, not seasoned like a steak, although I'm very hungry now. Like, that's nice. What about being a seasoned trial judge is something we should really consider today as we look through this incredible panel of applicants?
Well, I think it just goes back to what I talked about, the right kind of experience. And when you go from doing a custody trial in Monroe County to sentencing two 18-year-olds to life in prison in Jefferson County, to doing a 10-day medical malpractice trial in Wapello County, and a dispute about whether or not a goat fence was sufficient in Poweshiek County, you've got that variety that the appellate courts are looking at when they read the briefs and the transcript, and that perspective and the context that, my first year as a judge, or second year as a judge, I was just treading water. And I was probably too naive and didn't know enough to know that they were just throwing me into every jury trial that they could just to give me experience. But, sink or swim, I think that's a good approach. I just think having somebody with judicial experience and state court experience is vital, and there needs to be a richness or a breadth, and I think that distinguishes me as a candidate.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hoig.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner
Oh,
Spieth.
Judge, good to see you again.
Leon?
So Judge Mullins is just legendary for his affability, approachability. Seeing him in the courthouse, you would never know he was a judge. But what has he imparted to you about being an appellate judge that, without betraying a confidence, that you would bring to the bench yourself?
Well, it's just a window into what it is to be a Court of Appeals judge that was just down the hallway from me when I was a brand new judge. Invaluable to see him on the calls, conferencing cases, to discuss the research and the reading he was doing. You'd see him walk around the streets of Washington with his tobacco pipe, reading the iPad. I took to walking around a little bit to clear my mind, and people are asking me, where's the pipe at? And I was like, well, I haven't taken up that habit yet, but I think just the way he conducts himself and the way he treats people, from maintenance to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, with dignity and respect, is what I took away from him, from a broader picture. And then just the discussions and just like making me feel that I belong in the judiciary, being a mentor. We need more mentors, and I've had so many great mentors, and Judge Mullins is certainly one of them.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hardkoff?
Judge, it's good to see you. You wrote in your application that your common sense approach would be an asset for serving on the Court of Appeals. Can you talk about your common sense approach to the law?
Yeah, well, I think I've recovered from that headshot by the 2x4. So, and I think I had this question last year, but, and it was getting from point A to point B with ignoring the nonsense. So there's a lot of things about being a judge and a lawyer where you're needing to find, okay, there's a lot of information here. What's relevant? What actually is the dispute? What's the law? How do we apply the facts to the law? And how do we come to a decision? So when I talk about a common sense approach, it's really being able to sort, I don't make this a theme, sort through the BS, you know, just to be able to focus, because each judge on the Court of Appeals issues over 100 opinions a year. You just don't have time for some of the, what I would say, nonsense.
Commissioner Semmelroth?
We have a number of applicants who have experience as a prosecutor. We have a couple of applicants who have experience as a public defender. One thing that stands out in your application is the fact that you've done both. And so can you share with us how doing both has helped you as a district court judge and would help you as an appellate court judge?
Yeah, so, I mean, the experience of being a prosecutor and having to consult with law enforcement and victims gives me a perspective that, unless you were a prosecutor, you wouldn't have. Trying to prepare an 8-year-old for a deposition in a sexual abuse case when their father is a defendant is just heart-wrenching and something I will never forget. And then on the flip side, representing somebody in a trial or in a courtroom who's accused of a serious crime and ensuring their constitutional rights, telling them, hey, you're looking at 18 years or 17 and a half years if you're convicted of this. Oftentimes, they've got other problems, but at a certain point when you're representing these people accused of serious crimes, it's very weighing. It does weigh on you as well. So as a judge, I can understand when a prosecutor comes in and a defense attorney come in. I understand the pressures they're under. I understand the kind of the backstory. It's a little bit like being a seasoned district court judge, reviewing the record and reviewing briefs. I think I have a richer understanding of the context. Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Roberts?
No questions. Thanks, Judge.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hanson?
Hello, Judge.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. The Court of Appeals has an incredible caseload. How would you balance the need to process those decisions quickly, but also to do it thoroughly?
Well, thank you for the question. I think that when a judge is appointed to the Court of Appeals, there is a little bit of a time of adjustment, but generally the cases get assigned at random to 3 judge panels. And I would be working with other judges, and judges go at their own pace. Some work faster, some work less fast or thorough, if you want to be nice. So I just think that empathy for your other judge and cooperation and just keeping it, communication is so important in life, in our profession, and we get lost. I mean, and I know I'm on the tech committee. I understand how great technology is, but just communicating with the other judges, understanding you got to pull your own weight. on the Court of Appeals, and I think that I pull my own weight as a district court judge, so I think that's how I would approach it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schnur?
Good afternoon, Judge Showers.
Afternoon.
It's nice to see you.
Great to see you.
You mentioned something in your remarks about how, as a judge, you serve the Constitution and the rule of law. That's your constituency. I think I got that right. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me what you mean by that. What's the rule of law, and how does the judge serve that and the Constitution?
Well, it's a part of your oath to uphold the Constitution and the rules of the state of Iowa without fear or favor or hope of reward, equally to the rich and the poor. So the law, depending on if we're talking about case law from the Supreme Court or statute or Constitution, you are looking at first the text of the law, and obviously as an appellate court judge, only the matters that are raised before you are what you're looking at. And there would be statutes that would be raised by the attorneys regarding whether there was legal error or abuse of discretion or a de novo review. So you'd look to what the lawyers have argued in front of you because you're restrained by the record and by the rule of law or the Constitution. I'll just say it like this. The rule of law is one of the foundations of our society, and I think it's taken for granted, but we have to work to maintain that. And at a basic level, law enforcement responds to calls or there's emergencies, and we kind of get them on the back end as a judge. So if we don't do anything else but preserve this great state and this great country and the system we've had for hundreds of years, if I do nothing else, I will have done a great job, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Graber?
One thing that stood out to me is your level of confidence. I love seeing that, and I love what you said. You passed me on from here as one of the selected 5, and I will not disappoint you. I love hearing that. So when I think about the Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court, I think of 2 of the highest courts in the state of Iowa. And I think of that shining star. They look at somebody there, and they're like, it's no doubt the reason why that person is there. So do you feel that way, that they should be shining stars, and what type of things do you think that somebody in those positions should have? And do you have those?
Yes. Can it be a yes/no question?
Answer however you want. Yeah.
Are you asking me who I admire on the Supreme Court or Court of Appeals?
Well, more so on what do you think someone should possess that is in that position?
Humility,
Okay.
legal acumen, work ethic, and qualification-wise, I think everybody that's here is smart enough to be a judge. A lot of us are already judges, but what I hope people say about me, and I don't know what my letter said about me, if I got letters of recommendation, but I hope they say that I cared, I listened, I gave them their day in court, and I took their problems seriously. And if I could do that, then I definitely deserve to be on the Court of Appeals. That's what I'm applying for. That's what I have always admired with Judge Mullins and Judge Bauer and all the great judges. I don't want to leave any out, but like I said, I think I belong there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our time has expired. So we thank you for your application.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.